Hey, what's up guys? It's Marf and welcome back to another Asphalt 9 video. I know it's been a while. I had to take care of some personal things last week, so I wasn't able to make a video. Unfortunately, due to that, I also wasn't able to play a lot of Asphalt 9. So in terms of my status for this event, before I get into it, I will not be able to get the Ultima RS unless I spend a lot of tokens to get some of my cars up to the requirements, which I don't think I will, especially because the Ultima RS is not necessarily a king of the game, but we'll talk about the requirements for the events in a bit. But I do want to say, in general, I am pleasantly surprised with how this event is laid out and the requirements that go along with it. Now, again, if you didn't know, this is sort of like the grand finale event for the British Tour season. We had 3 cars come in with their specific events like the Star Hunt, a Grand Prix, and an epic sort of import part hunt thing. I forgot what they call it, but and then also a passport event as well. And alongside that, we had the weekend rampage for the Lotus Emira. Now, with one of those events that I just talked about, that is the event where you hunt for epic import parts, I assumed that because they were giving us so many epic import parts, that the requirements for the cars to get the Ultima RS would be along the lines of like almost golden max, or in some cases golden max, but I was actually quite wrong. As far as I can tell, in order to unlock the Ultima RS, you just need to have every single car at 3 stars, which is actually quite good, because considering some of these cars are like, I think 5 stars, so stuff like the Jaguar and the McLaren Senna GTR are pretty high star cars, and you only need them at 3 stars as far as I can tell in order to get all of the conditions which you will need to get the key for the Ultima RS. So overall, like I said, I am pleasantly surprised, and if you have the time to do a bit of grinding throughout this season, I think it's actually quite reasonable that you would have had pretty much all of these cars at 3 stars. Now, if you played for a while, you might have had a bit of an advantage, especially with some of the car hunt cars like the McLaren P1, the Aston Martin Speedster, and the Bentley Continental GT3. That car is especially tricky because if you already didn't have it from the Grand Prix or previous car hunts, you would have needed to, I believe, get it at the maximum 4 stars in order to guarantee the key, which is quite annoying. And we'll talk about car hunts in a bit. But besides that, I managed to get 3 stars on every car except for the Jaguar XJ220, just simply because it was last week, and last week I was the most busy, so I couldn't grind it, but it really wasn't like that bad. Of course, we all figured out that the Star Hunt was much better in terms of drop rates for blueprints than something like a normal car hunt, which was a much needed relief, and it was very nice to see. But like I said earlier, the problem is that we still had those car hunts, and that remains, at least for me, the biggest issue with this event still. And again, let me be clear, even though I'm complaining, I definitely recognize that this type of event is much better than pretty much a majority of the previous events we got in Asphalt 9. Just the fact that I'm saying, you only needed to have cars at 3 stars is even somewhat of a miracle in my opinion, because a lot of other events in the past, you needed to have things at like gold max or at very high star counts with epic import parts. So I am really happy about these requirements being lowered. Again, it's not for, like a Tuatara or something, but it is for a pretty decent S-Class car. But again, the problem remains with the car hunts and the way that those work. Now, as I said, because I was busy last week, I couldn't get my Jaguar up to 3 stars. But that wouldn't have been much of a problem if I didn't have to split my time between that and different car hunts. And again, that's where the big issue comes into play. So especially with cars such as the Aston Martin Speedster and the Bentley Continental GT3, the real issue is that we have only 10 tickets for events, and we have to split them between all of the different British Tour season events and the car hunts. And I know that's probably a way for GameLoft to make us spend more tokens or money in order to get more tickets. And of course, you could buy the Legend Pass, which will give you that free daily refill. But the problem with that is it's much easier to just kind of ignore it and say, I don't really need the car, or I'll just kind of do what I can, and that'll be about it. And that's really what I did, and what I assume a lot of other people did as well. And frankly, it's very obvious that you can see that they're trying to stretch us thin, and make us sort of, use our tickets wisely, and, have us spend in order to get more. An easy solution to this would be to implement the sort of separate ticket system that something like Need for Speed No Limits has, where you have a separate ticket system for special events and daily events. Of course, we can assume that Gameloft won't be doing something like this anytime soon, but I know that I was sort of just praising the event's requirements, but I just wanted to point out that there are still issues. The thing is these aren't that hard of issues to solve, because you can still keep the car hunts. You can still keep the sort of grindiness, because at the end of the day, it's a free game, and the grindiness is going to be there no matter what we do. But in my opinion, if Gameloft changed the car hunt sort of drop rates in order to match the star hunt drop rates, which again were the sort of car hunts that we were doing for the specific British Tour season cars, then honestly, I think that would just kind of solve everything. Because even though you still need to go through the special event conditions, you need to play probably about 100 or so races in order to get all of the conditions. That has been an expected thing, and because you can't, skip ahead, or because they also give us just a large amount of time, it's actually not that, terrible of a grind in my opinion, at least, for a free-to-play mobile game. So the simplest solution would just have to be to change and improve the drop rates for the normal car hunts. After that, honestly, with this type of event, if you've been playing for a while, all you probably would have need to do in terms of spending currency is maybe like a couple thousand in order to get a car to 3 stars that maybe you just didn't have time to grind. And there you go. You pretty much have all the requirements, and you should be able to get the Ultima RS key. So I know all of my thoughts and everything that I've laid out has been quite complicated, but the long of the short is that for this event, the only real issue I still see is that the car hunt drop rates are still absolutely awful. Because beyond that, I honestly think that this was a really good season, a really good special event, and I honestly think that if they continue with this format and they continue with these requirements, again, the requirements is the important part, because if they just continue with, the event structure, well, it won't mean anything if we really did have to have all cars at max and gold and max and have to spend thousands of tokens. But if they keep the requirements, honestly, I could see the community start to turn around and actually enjoy playing Asphalt 9 for once. Now, again, we are still ignoring a copious amount of other issues that this game has, but overall, if they solve just those car hunts, I honestly think that this event format would work really, really well. So overall, like I said, I am pleasantly surprised with the requirements and the format for this British Tour season, I guess, set of events. And honestly, there are just a couple of small things that they could do, and that would really improve the experience of this event format. And if they continue in the future and implement these types of improvements, I think, honestly, Asphalt 9 has a pretty darn good sort of ecosystem that we can get used to, and I think all agree with. But yeah, anyway, guys, please let me know your thoughts on the Ultima RS special event, as well as the culmination of the British Tour season in the comment section down below, and I will see you guys in the next one.